top 3 most likable Vols basketball players of the last 20 years. Who's your number 3?
Well, mine are biased. As a former basketball coach, for those of you who are watching, if your coach ever said they don't play favorites and they don't like anybody more than another, they lied. They absolutely do like one player more than another, and there's always one guy on the team that they like just more than everybody else. And it's typically whoever the guy is that plays the hardest. Every coach loves a guy that you don't have to motivate to go out and work their tail off. They just want to go out there and scrap. And so my three are all in that mold.
We'll go back and forth. 3, 3, 2, 2, 1, 1.
Yeah. I just want to put that disclaimer in there. All 3 of mine fit that mold. They were guys that in the last 20 years were just workaholics and everybody would love to coach them. So number 3 for me was Dane Bradshaw.
And I mean, how can you not like the guy on SEC Network now too? Like he's a joy to listen to, he's hilarious on Twitter. To honor Chris Lofton at Chris Lofton's jersey retirement that day, the day before it, Dane tweeted out a video, and it was like, he said, somebody asked me what it was like to play with Chris Lofton. And he said, here's what it was like to play with Chris Lofton. And he walks over to the 3-point line. He's like, Chris, I'm open. Throw me the ball. Chris, nice shot, Chris. And it cracked me up, man. He's hilarious. He's really great. It just cracked me up, that video. So my number 3, I'm not using recency bias here. I genuinely think this. Zakai Ziegler is just so likable, for all the same reasons Rustin just said. Here's a kid, he's not recruited by anybody coming out of high school. Rick Barnes finds him at a tournament in Atlanta, offers him a spot, and he takes the nation by storm. Everybody likes this guy. He plays defense so hard. We mentioned it earlier in the Auburn game last year. He's guarding a guy, and he's just so confident on the court that he reaches up and touches the guy's nose while he's guarding him, and the guy's sitting there, holding the ball, about to make a move and stuff. He works so hard. He plays so hard. He plays defense so hard. You can't not root for the guy. And then, we see that manifested in what Tennessee fans all of Vol Nation did for him and his family. His house catches on fire in New York, and essentially Vol Nation pays for a house for him here in East Tennessee. So, that's evidenced by the fact that how people rally around him too. Now, I'm going to be honest. I love Rustin's number 2 pick here, and I kind of wish I had done that. And so I think this is a great one. Who's your number 2, Rustin?
The Admiral.
That's a great one. Why is he your number 2?
Same reason. All 3 of mine fit the same mold. They're guys that, again, have a little dog in them. If a coach needed a possession, needed a shot, needed a stop, that's the guy you're looking at. How many times did we see Admiral Schofield make a huge defensive stop in a key moment? How many times did we see, a play get drawn up for Admiral to just go attack the basket or hit a big 3? The man wanted the ball in his hands. He wanted to be a player. And there were very few people that outworked him. He was just a workaholic and got after it.
I think what you just said is exactly why he's such a likable person, such a likable player. First of all, his smile, man, he just lights up a room. But what you just said, though, when he came to Tennessee, he was not a gifted shooter. He was not an incredibly skilled basketball player. He was just a really, really good athlete. And he worked his tail off and became a gifted shooter. He worked and earned that. It was such a cool thing his last 2 years at Tennessee to see how he became a leader on the court and became someone that they could rely on offensively because they needed that. And he became that guy. He became that dude that we were talking about earlier. And and it was all because of his work ethic. I love that. So my number 2 is Chris Lofton. I think that I mentioned his jersey. Once again, I'm not trying to use recency bias, but I think his jersey retirement, um, that was really the thing that demonstrated why people like him. At his own jersey retirement, he hardly said anything about himself. He was thanking the fans, thanking Vol Nation, thanking his teammates. It was never about him. But if there was a dude on the court that was that dude, it was Chris Lofton. Here's a guy who he wanted the ball in his hands in pressure moments. It was his moment.
Yeah.
Like he was like, give me the ball. But then he would say, man, what a great team win. Like he knew that shot in the last second was on his shoulders, and he wanted it that way. And if you hear Dane Bradshaw talk about Chris, he said, when Chris came to Tennessee, he really struggled his first year. It was wondering, like, is this dude even going to get to ever see the court? And he was just like, okay, I'm gonna go out and earn it. And he said no one was in the gym more than Chris. He was putting up so many shots every day, no one could even compare to how many shots he was putting up. And look what turned out. Dude worked his tail off, and then he has his jersey hanging in the rafters because of it. And he was always not, boasting in himself. It was all about the team all the time. And you got to love that. So number one, once again, we made our list separately and then, put them on here. It just so happens that we had the same number one, which I think speaks volumes. Yeah, sure did. So Rustin, who was number one?
So I'm really happy for him. He's done an amazing job creating a career for himself. My number one was Ron Slay. I didn't pick him because of his radio and TV career, though. I picked him because the man was an absolute monster of a player. He played insanely hard at all times, and he had an unbelievable ability to get the crowd involved in a game. I don't know if it's because they were all afraid of him or what, but he could make one gesture to the audience and they would just go nuts. He was impressive. I always loved watching every minute of Ron Slay.
So that was my number one as well, because literally exactly what you just said. He could turn with that headband on, he turned and look at the crowd and everybody just goes nuts, like he could get the whole gym involved in the game, unlike any other person, maybe in Tennessee history. I mean, it's just incredible. And then, like you said, I'm just so happy for him now that, he's a prime analyst on SEC Network now, doing a great job. You can't help but be happy for the guy. He's endeared himself to Vol Nation as a player and now as an alum, and he's just a likable dude. Darius said Chris Lofton, Zakai, and JP Prince. Now I like that JP Prince one.
I love the JP Prince sighting. We needed some 16-inch shorts on this show.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But the JP Prince, that's a good point, because man, he was a team player. I love that. Honorable mention Wayne Kiss. Yeah, absolutely. I thought about that. I thought about him, and he's probably in my top 7 if I had to. I totally agree. Zach said Kennedy Chandler. Yeah, I agree with that. Grant Williams, you definitely agree with that one. And Chris Lofton. Yeah, totally agree. No doubt about it. John also said Lofton. Yep, absolutely. Let's see. Ricky, we were doing top 3 most likable player. Ricky said top 3 what? Most likable players of the last 20 years.
I like Elijah's response. He's apparently a fan.
How could you not like Grant? I mean, how could you not like Grant? Here's Ricky's. Santi, Grant Williams, and Chris Lofton. I think that's 3 good ones. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm going to go BJ Edwards, and BJ Edwards.
Oh, Zach, I like it, man. Zach said Toby Awaka. I love it. That's what I'm talking about. Ricky said honorable mention Brian Williams and Duke Cruz. Okay, especially Brian Williams. People loved that guy. They loved him. And you're right. I love the Brian Williams reference. That was a good one. That's a good one.
Did not expect to hear Duke Cruz on tonight's show. That's a new one.
Ricky's just naming people for fun now.
Yeah.
We appreciate everybody joining us tonight. Hey, if you haven't already subscribed to our channel, we'd love it if you did. We try to get stuff out frequently. We're going live like twice a week right now.